NFL player rep Jay Feely at those meetings, and he does join us now. Jay, before we get into the specifics of the commissioner's statement in that op-ed, the NFL filed a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board saying that the union hasn't been negotiating in good faith. How would you characterize the tone of those meetings?
Well, I think that we all have to come to those meetings with the desire to get a deal done. I think the NFL Players Association has done a great job in presenting different models and listening to the problems that the owners say that they have, whether it's the rookie wage scale or a rollback in the percentage for the salary cap and what it's based upon, or different issues that they have, and we've presented models and try to get them to work within a model. Okay, here's an example for you to use. Try to work within that model, and we haven't really gotten any feedback from them on any of the models that we presented, and so it's been at a standstill. You
mentioned the rookie pay scale and also the money, basically splitting up the league revenue. I'm going to get to those in a minute, but I want to start with one of the topics, the 18-game schedule. The commissioner wrote about that also. Is the union ever going to accept an 18-game schedule?
I don't think so, and I say that because it's so hard of a concept for the players to grasp, especially the players who play a game that has such a physical nature. And you're talking about offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers who take on ISO blocks, fullbacks who run in there. The guys who take an absolute pounding day in and day out through practice, in the games, and to try to come around, get their minds to wrap around the concept of playing 2 additional games at the end of a season with no real reason of why you would play those other than to raise revenue. I mean, that's the only reason you would add those games is because you want to add an estimate of, say, $600 million in revenue. You know, you can get your body and your mind ready to play a playoff game at the end of the year because you know it's do or die, and you have to win this game or your season's over. And so you can sacrifice and prepare mentally. It's hard to even envision doing that for 2 games that don't have any additional meaning for that season.
One thing, and I just want to point out on the NFL side and what the commissioner had said in his statement, he talked more about the fact that there already are 16 regular season games, and then you've got the 4 preseason games. So if you went to 18, it just delivers more value to the fans. And again, just pointing out what they've put out there, I do want to move on to another thing, splitting the revenue. This is what Commissioner Goodell had to write in his op-ed. Quote, the status quo means players continuing to keep 60% of available revenue in good years or bad, no matter how the national economy or the economics of the league have changed. From 2001 to 2009, player compensation doubled, and the teams committed a total of $34 billion to player costs. All right, Jay, has the union set a baseline for their cut of the pie, how much of that revenue they want?
Well, we said that we'd take 50% of revenue. That was of all revenue. That was the last proposal that we made. The reality is that we get 50% of the revenue right now because you take $1 billion off before you create that cap and take that 60%. We've given them credits back for things like building stadiums, things that are going to enhance the game and build revenue. And they've then taken that $1 billion off first before you get that 60%. So it ends up being 50%. But you could find, if you wanted to get a deal done, Dana, you could find ways to be creative and to create programs like, say, a deferred compensation package. You could give owners back the money that they say that they want right now or that they need right now to grow the game, that the model has changed, create a deferred compensation package where you would get a credit for every year you play, and then 10 years from now it would be based on the growth of the game and the growth of revenue. And then, the owners have said time and time again that they bear all the risk and the players have the reward. Well, in that kind of situation, you would share in the risk and the reward. But we've been rebuffed whenever we've come up with ideas like that.
Jay, obviously you guys are far off on a lot of different issues. We don't have time to get to the rookie pay scale issue, but I do want to ask, just over 2 weeks to go and until that deadline comes, where do we go from here? We've already seen some former NFL players send letters asking the league not to lock you guys out. Where do we go?
Oh, it's kind of a waiting game. You're trying to be progressive as a union and trying to present models, and you can't do that if you're not sitting at the table, though. And I think, and I hope that Roger Goodell would implore his owners to come back to the table, to sit down and to negotiate in good faith and to try to work with different models and different examples to come up with answers for the problems that they have.
Matt Light didn't seem optimistic, didn't seem to think that you guys would get there without some type of lockout. Do you think that come March 4th there will be a lockout?
I think it'll be a lockout unless it's the outcome of the Judge Doty case, which is about the $4 billion in TV revenue that they can use, even if there's not games. If that case, which is supposed to be heard before March 4th, and there's supposed to be a judgment before March 4th, if that goes in the favor of the players, then I think you'll see movement on an extension. And if not, then I think you'll see a lockout, unfortunately.
Well, Jay, we will all continue to watch. Jay Feely, Cardinals kicker and a player rep. Thanks for joining us, Jay.
My pleasure, as always.